This episode of A Life of Greatness is proudly brought to you by The Beauty Chef, now available at Chemist Warehouse. The Beauty Chef creates science-backed, fermented, super nutrient formulas for gut health, glowing skin, and whole body wellness. Their latest launch, Body Electric, is an intelligent protein water blend powered by creatine, electrolytes, hydrolyzed protein, and activated B vitamins. No need for 4 different products. You get all these nutrients in one. Live charged with the Beauty Chef, available in-store or online at Chemist Warehouse.
Male movie stars are just spoiled for choice of what they can do.
You've worked with Nicole Kidman, Toni, Collette, Reese, Witherspoon. How did you get into entertainment?
This film crew came to my school and the director was this guy, Ray Argo, and they did an internship. Ray, the director of this documentary, was making. So I don't know what would have happened if they hadn't come to my school.
Big Little Lies?
Yeah, that was the first.
How did that come about?
I gave it to Nicole Kidman, and then the plan really was, when I first read it, we can go make something in Australia, but then that pivoted. Reese wanted to do it.
Talking about streaming, because that changed the landscape.
Yeah. I remember saying to my husband, it was exactly 5 years ago, this bubble was going to burst. And it did burst.
The industry that you're in, reviews are a big part of it, right?
The whole thing is kind of crap, to be honest. Some of the best stuff I've made has been badly reviewed. I'm sorry, but I'm done being scared. Everyone's been too quiet on, what's been happening.
Bruna Papandrea, welcome to A Life of Greatness.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here.
It's so interesting, I think, people within the entertainment industry, because we hear about all the actresses and the actors and, occasionally the directors, if they've been around for years and years and won like 7 Academy Awards, then you get to know their names. But it's a lot of the time the people behind the scenes that you don't hear as much about, who do equally, if not more work. And with yourself, it was funny because I don't know, when I first saw your name pop up, it was a couple of years ago, and I was like, this is interesting. Who's Bruna Papandrea? And then as soon as I noticed your name pop up, it pops up here and there. And then you were one of these people that I thought, God, she's done such amazing things, but we don't know about her as much as we know about Nicole Kidman or Reese Witherspoon. So I want to talk to you today about your life, and I'd love to start by asking you, how did you get into entertainment?
Oh God, how did I get into entertainment? I mean, I think it was a kind of circuitous path, because where I came from, there was no one, making films or working in the arts even, right? Like I grew up in a very kind of working class government housing in Elizabeth in South Australia. But I was always really interested in the arts. And I always say this, I no matter how you grew up, I was lucky enough at this school I grew up in that's no longer there to have these amazing music and drama teachers. And, it was a really, really low socioeconomic neighborhood, but they had these amazing teachers and they put on these amazing productions. So I got really interested in the arts because of that. So one of the things that happened, and it's kind of important, this part of the story, I think, when I was at that school, in the school production, this film crew came to my school, and I was 13, and the woman, actually, Christina Pozan, I just produced a movie with, was the producer, and they were making a series of documentaries called Pop Movie about, different things in the arts. And the director was this guy, Ray Argo, and the cinematographer was Mandy Walker, who you probably don't know this, but is one of Australia's most known cinematographers in the world. So they came to my school when I was 13, and I stayed in contact with them, Christina specifically. And then my first internship and kind of entree was I did an internship when I was 17 on a movie called Return Home that Ray, the director of this documentary, was making. So, weirdly, I don't know what would have happened if they hadn't come to my school. So that was my first exposure to being on a film set, which is pretty young to be on a film set. Yeah.
Is it strange that they went to probably a lower socioeconomic school in the middle of Adelaide somewhere? You don't often hear about that.
No.
It's quite a, we'll go through your story, but this is, as you mentioned, a pivotal part of it.
Yeah.
That is like a fluke of a thing to happen.
Yeah. No, sliding doors. I mean, it is.
It is. And then a 13-year-old keeps in touch with someone that was on the set. I mean, even that is, not
No,
the regular
not, yeah.
occurrence of something that would happen.
No, it's crazy. And I think about that all the time. I think that was part of obviously why they were interested, because this school that was kind of in the middle of nowhere were putting on these musicals. And we have this musical now. I see footage of me in that, in that documentary, and I just can't quite believe it. I mean, I sound completely different. I kind of look the same. But yeah, it's incredible, because I was like, what is this thing? What are they doing? Oh, they're making films. And so, for me, I'm a big believer in like finding access points wherever you can, and how do people find those access points, for people. Yeah.
You talked about having some beautiful teachers, and you obviously had a love for drama from a young age. How important do you think, on reflection, good teachers are, especially in inspiring people to move forward with their life? And, for you, it was life-changing because you ended up doing something within that field, that entertainment field.
Yeah. I mean, I think teachers are everything. And I think I've thought about it a lot more now since I had children, actually, because I've had some experiences lately where, my kids are interested or not interested in something, or even I've seen their confidence completely destabilized by a bad teacher. And it's heartbreaking. And you don't have to be good at something. I wasn't a particularly good actor. I mean, I thought I was, but I wasn't. But they just made me feel like I could do anything, and they gave me confidence, right?
Yeah.
So I still thank them in most speeches I give today.
Really?
By name. I haven't seen them in 40 years, because they were really pivotal, right? They just gave me entree into a world, I didn't know. And so I think, and obviously there's that teacher, and then there are other teachers, right, throughout our lives. And that's the thing I've been thinking a lot about, is like, we've all had many teachers in our lives, right? So for me, it's kind of everything. And, and hopefully I'll continue to have more teachers.
And I wonder, for you, obviously growing up in Adelaide, you didn't have it easy. Your dad was part of your life for a period of time, but he was in jail at one point. And your mother...
That's what we always say. Unfortunately, he was in jail at the time of my birth. Yes.
Your mother you were a twin.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about growing up when you were young.
Yeah. So my mother had a set of twins already, and then conceived my twin and I. She died a few days after we were born, and shouldn't have died. I mean, that was also, I think, I think about this all the time. She died because she had a broken spine in the womb, and they prepared my mother for a C-section, like fully prepared her. And then for some reason, a bad doctor decided to force the baby out with forceps and put too much pressure on her spine, and she died 24 hours later. She definitely would have been in a wheelchair. She had a broken spine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really think about that much. I'll be honest. I've never said this to anyone, but when my mother had another child when I was 13, my half sister, and it was the same hospital, and they called this doctor's name over the speaker, and my mother just went white, and it was the same doctor.
Oh my!
And that's when she said to me, "That's the doctor that delivered you." And I just, like, it was such a kind of profound moment, and I was like, you could just see that she was like still holding,
the grief.
Yeah, the grief. And also it shouldn't have happened, obviously. So yeah, that's So I grew up with my brother and sister, who are only a year older, and my mother in Elizabeth, with big Italian family essentially.
Do you think about the fact that you had a twin much?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I definitely do. And I definitely think there's people make jokes. Every time I tell them I was a twin, they go, oh, literally, maybe it's an emotional response, but people always say, oh, wow, two of you, that would be a lot. I'll be like, well, number one, we were different. We were fraternal, different people. But, I do think about it. And I definitely have definitely felt it's corny to say it, but I definitely feel like I've lived for two people.
Yeah.
There's something there. And I worked with this amazing healer. My husband is much, much more deeply spiritual than me. He's, very connected to a lot of healers around the world. He's done a lot of work. So he introduced me to someone, to do some kind of sound therapy or something. And I'm a believer to a certain extent, but not like my husband. And I'm definitely,
I love your husband.
oh yeah, you'd love him. He's had so many amazing, teachers over the years. But this woman, I was in this session with her, and I felt like I definitely felt it was the first time ever that it happened to me, where I felt like her presence.
Aww.
There was something going on, and I was like, okay, there's definitely something here. Yes, and I'm, and then obviously, yeah, it's a bizarre thing to then have twins.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, I always wanted twins because I was 150 years old when I had children. It's never too late.
How old were you when you had
I was
kids?
41. My husband was 47.
Well, at least you had two.
I was 41. No, I mean one and done.
Yeah.
No. I thank God I definitely got lucky with that. I mean, I did IVF, so my hope was for twins, definitely.
And so, how did you go from growing up in assisted housing to then obviously producing some of the biggest movies and shows in the world? That's a huge leap.
Yeah.
And not something that happens often.
Yeah. I mean, it was obviously a series of steps, but I was one of those people who, I mean, I love that your podcast is called A Life of Greatness because, I'm a big believer that like many of us can be great, right? Like what does greatness mean to you, right? And so I always had like so much, I wouldn't call it ambition. I just had so much drive and curiosity and just wanted to be in the world. I wanted to travel. I wanted to live in different countries. And so many different moves took me to, I mean, I make jokes, but it's totally true. Like heartbreak took me to a lot of these places. Like I'd break up with a guy and I moved to New York for a bit. And then I volunteered on a movie and that gave me my first credit and came back. And then I broke up with another guy and then I made another movie. And I broke up with another one. And, a lot of my moves were like, I moved from London to New York because I was engaged and I had a great job and then I broke up. But life takes you in funny places personally. But one of the things that I think I was always really good at was I had worked from when I was like 12 years old, right? Like I had always had a job, like supermarket, fast food places, people. So like I just always,
was that your
had
mum?
a job.
Like,
yeah, and also when you don't have any money and you want stuff, right? You got to make it yourself, right? So yeah, we all worked. My brother and sister, we all had part-time jobs, and I loved it. I also liked working. And I do feel like in some ways I've never had jobs that didn't give me something in life. Like even working in restaurants. Like I was laughing coming here because one of my kind of earlier jobs, I worked at Cafe Cucina and
that's like
on
iconic.
Chapel Street. Yeah, it was iconic. But like that job taught me how to communicate with people and how to make something look beautiful and how food was beautiful and like all these things. But I did have a couple of things, mostly when I put myself out there and or spent my own money making a short film or that led to these other opportunities. And my first big opportunity was getting to make my own movie. I was making commercials. I was doing lots of things to make a living. And then a friend of mine, Robert Connolly, had been asked to produce this movie, Better Than Sex. And he was busy and he said, you should get this girl. Again, some people, what happens if Robert didn't say that? And that was my first proper movie, I would say. I'd made another movie before, but like that was from start to finish, did everything. And it was that movie that went to film festivals and where I ultimately met Anthony Minghella, who gave me, the biggest break in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
It's interesting that you started off kind of acting because that's what I started off doing too, like obsessed at
when
National
you say,
Theatre.
I mean, let's not overstate that you were probably an actual
No,
actor.
I wasn't.
I
think I did
auditioned
like
for
you.
I got rejected from NIDA twice, from VCA twice.
I didn't even try out for them.
I think I probably auditioned for Whopper and got rejected, but like I clearly was not meant to be an actor.
It gives you skills though.
Yeah, I can send
that's
a
what
podcast.
I think. It gives you skills that people, because I do a lot of keynote speaking, and I said, I think it's because I was an actor. That's what made me a good speaker. But I was like, I only did ads and stuff. I never had some big roles. I had an agent for 5 seconds.
I never had an agent. See, you're already ahead of me.
But it's this idea that everything leads you to a point, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned it earlier. You had the job at Cucina and other bits and pieces that you did. Yeah. And I always say that. I'm like, all these roles, because I used to be a producer,
Yeah.
everything led me to this point
Yeah.
and made me good at what I do because I learned marketing. I studied PR.
That's right.
I did this, I did that. And, you know, maybe some jobs are more enjoyable than others,
Yeah.
but you learn, if
Totally.
you open your eyes,
Yeah.
you learn something at every job. I mean, you
Yeah.
worked in an old age home and you were
Yeah.
saying you learned
Or
things
you
from
meet
that.
people, by the way, at
Yeah.
those places that somehow lead to something. I mean, yeah, the old people's home was interesting. I actually, because I also
confronting
thought I wanted
side.
to be a writer. So when I failed at being an actor, I was like, I'm going to be a writer. And I actually had a play that I wrote that was weirdly inspired by the old people's home. And it got accepted into the Young Playwrights
Wow.
Conference. And it was there that I met this playwright, Stephen Saul, who introduced me to someone who got my first job in film. Like, again, like these things. And the play was about like a child-inspired revolution at an old people's home, because the one I worked at, everyone had dementia. And this was not a particularly good one, obviously. Yeah. I'm sure there are many good ones. But they were just being medicated. And it was just, it just broke my heart. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if these kids came in and kind of saved these old people? And then years later, I actually read a story about, I think it was in China, where an old people's, I think, no, a kindergarten lost their lease or something. And they ended up going, right next door was an old people's home, and they ended up integrating for a minute this old people's home and this kindergarten. And it was so mutually beneficial for both communities.
Yeah.
And it really kind of made me think about, you know, that old people's home I worked at. So, you know, it was, I think it was actually really beneficial. You know, it inspired a lot of thinking in me. I'm a big fan. I say this to young people all the time, like, just expose yourself to as many opportunities as possible, because you do not know what you will love sometimes, you know.
That's absolutely true. And sometimes you try something, you don't like it, but then you realize you don't like it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can take things from a certain, like, oh, I didn't like that, but I loved that I got to deal with people. And so then you think about what else it is that you could do in that sort of field that makes you interact with people. You're always, if you're open to it, learning something. You are a big producer. And then when I think about producing, which I was for many years, but not a television or film producer, I was radio and podcasting, it encompasses so much, and people don't really know what a producer does. And I know it's different for the different roles, but say, for example, you just mentioned a film that you had done. What would your role on that be as a producer?
So the kind of producer I am is I will, obviously much of my work has been basically adapting books to screen. So for me, what my role is, and this particular movie that I just mentioned, which is coming out, called Edition, is a Melbourne author, Toni Jordan. It's the longest option I've ever held on a book. Before this, it was 9 years of a movie I did get made. But so what my role is on that is, with my producing partner, Christina, I optioned a book 14 years ago.
And what does optioned a book mean?
So you read a book and you say the film rights available. So I could still read a book now. Now, most of the time when I option a book, it's not at the bookshop, right? It's before it's been published now, because people send them to me before they're published. That probably wasn't happening back then. Back then, I'm sure I saw Toni's book in the bookshop and read it, or Christina read it and called me and said, you should read this book. That's the way that one happened. And so then you call the agent and you say, the film rights available? Yes. And then you start a process of negotiating how much you're going to pay for the option on a book. And then the next step, once you've had that conversation and done that paperwork, is, okay, we're going to get a screenwriter to adapt it. Then once you have a script, you have to find the director and then the actors and the money. So, and then obviously make it. And then your job doesn't stop then. Then you have to, what does the marketing look like? Who's going to distribute it? Is it sold in the rest of the world? Like, certainly the kind of producer I am is very much start to finish.
Yeah.
So, you know, I always think of myself, I say to people, like,
it's like the cogs in the wheel, really.
Yeah, I always think of myself as, like, in some ways the gatekeeper, because, you know, it's like, I believe it's like the authors, and then I have to have the screenwriter, you know, put their vision, and then you have a filmmaker, and then they have to bring their vision. And so, like, in some ways it's the vision is shared but passed on.
Do you choose, like, the actors and actresses in it?
You're part of that conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, we're part of every conversation. How much something costs, where it's going to be filmed, who's making it, if you're lucky enough to have more than one person that wants to make it. You know, what the poster looks like, you know, who's designing, I mean, everything.
Wow.
Yeah. They're all the parts of it I love.
Yeah.
The only part I don't love is the selling part. Like, but I think that's probably true for many businesses, because I'm always like, just make it. But you have to, you know, there's always that point where you're like, okay, there's a lot of money at stake, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's the part that is not my favorite part, is the pitching
Yeah,
part.
yeah, that's always,
Yeah.
I can understand that. And working with women and doing women-led productions was a big part of something that you wanted to do and you do. How did that come about, and why did you feel there was a need for that?
So, I mean, I always felt the need for it. And I think what happened when I started the company with Reese, she was obviously wanting to do that. And I had been reading a lot of scripts for different actor friends who were, you know, fairly well known. But I was like, oh, you know, why aren't they being offered more interesting roles, you know? And so I think my feeling that, and then her wanting to do that, kind of coincided. You know, the timing was very good. And so that's when I decided to make that a focus, you know, in the company we started together. And then beyond that, once that company ended and I was starting Made Up Stories, I wanted to kind of take that further and also say, well, female filmmakers should be able to tell any story they want, whether it's with women or not. So how can we help support that as well? So kind of it became for me about women behind and in front of the camera. And I think for me, I was just like, it's easy to say now. People feel like the gap is not quite so big, but it's still pretty bad comparatively. Like if you look at, particularly with films, I think television's done a much better job of putting more interesting women on screen.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I mean, male movie stars are just spoiled for choice of what they can do. You know what I mean? There's like, you know, a handful of movie stars and there's still a lot more material available. So yeah, I subscribe to that theory that like we're here on this earth. I'm here on this earth to tell stories, then, you know, I'm like a big believer in you can't be it if you can't see it. And that doesn't even mean positive characters. It sometimes mean like just seeing reflections of yourself or the world you aspire to or the world you'll never live in, but, you know, that will spark your imagination in some way. So, you know, I felt it's always my job to keep, you know, diversifying that as much as possible.
And you mentioned Reese Witherspoon, who you had a company with a while ago. You developed a lot of Leanne Moriarty's books and put them on screen. I've interviewed Leanne. She's divine.
Oh, she's divine.
And she's so humble.
Oh my gosh, she's the great. she's
like
literally one of the great humans. Like, I love her.
So humble and sweet, and obviously a phenomenal writer. Yeah. How did that, because is it Big Little Lies?
Yeah, that was the first.
Yeah. How did that come about?
I didn't even know her. I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but like I was living in I'd left Australia in 2000. So I felt like I was kind of up with what Australians were doing. But a friend of mine basically gave me this book, Big Little Lies, and said, oh, you should read this. She's Australian. It's set in Sydney. And I was like, I'd literally never heard of her. I'm ashamed to say. I tell her this all the time. And not even her most successful book by far. Like Her Husband's Secret was her most successful book, I think, at the time, which I hadn't read. And I just read it and fell in love with it. And like, what is this thing set in Sydney? And at that point, that's when I gave it to Nicole Kidman. And then the plan really was, when I first read it, we can go make something in Australia. But then that pivoted. Reese wanted to do it. And it was clear that could be pretty easily translated to America. So that's kind of how the first Leanne. And since then, we've optioned so many more and made, obviously, another season. And then we did Last Anniversary, one of her, other books that she was very keen that we made one in Australia.
Nine Perfect Strangers.
Nine Perfect
that was amazing. That was shot in COVID, wasn't it?
That was shot in COVID, but obviously set in Australia, but we reset it.
Yeah, that was at my friends used to own Soma, it was there.
Yeah, that's a whole story I could tell you.
He was telling me, thank God for that, because they just opened.
Well, I hope he told you that I had to convince him.
No.
Oh my God. They were like, no.
Gary and Peter.
Yeah, no, we're not interested. We're not interested. And I was like, well, I think I don't know what's going to happen with this COVID thing. But, just so you know, when we make things, like sometimes it brings more value to the properties.
Yeah.
And, maybe if you've got things booked, we could relocate, give them, pay for their, whatever. I mean, we really wanted that space. They said no twice to the location manager. And then finally I got on a call with them. And I was like, well, just, and then I did a call and then think about it. And then suddenly it kind of turned around. But there was very much a hard no twice.
Really?
Lucky I don't take no for an answer.
Seriously, because they were saying how great that was.
Oh, it was amazing.
As well.
Once they signed up, they were amazing, and the experience was amazing. And it
that
was
location is next level
incredible.
with that what is it? The gardens and
incredible.
Yeah,
incredible, that place. And we had another place that we kind of
there was another house
magically matched it with. Yeah. But yeah, that was incredible. Anyway, so Leanne, we made that one, and none of her other books at that point. There's one other that's been made, but like Husband Secret still hasn't been adapted. Like they've been trying, but we obviously have a very close bond with her. And so then we made Last Anniversary in Australia, which was really meaningful to her and to me. And Nicole and Pesari, her producing partner, and I produced it. And we've got the rights to her next book as well. So and a few others. So yeah, it's been an amazing relationship that hasn't stopped.
And how, obviously you live in Australia, as you mentioned, in Sydney, but you spend a lot of time in the US. And I'd love to know, moving between those two worlds of Australia, US, and Europe.
Yeah.
I think like 70 to 80% of the people I have on this podcast just happen to be American. So I feel like I float in those worlds, not as much as you. Where do you think Australia lies when it comes to, making films and Hollywood and the arts?
Yeah. I think I always say we punch well above our weight because like Americans love Australians.
Do they?
They do.
I found that as well. But
no, they do. I think they love it. And I think there's like, I don't know. I love everything about Australia, but I do definitely feel there's a bit of a tall poppy thing. I've definitely felt that a little bit. But, there's something about one of the great things about America is like you do feel this kind of ability to thrive and that you can kind of be anything. And I think that they love Australians, like our work ethic is really amazing. They love coming here to make movies. So I think culturally we punch so far above our weight, like as an industry. Like Americans love, every American I know has come here to make something international or Australian. They just want to come back because best, some of the best technicians in the world, the attitude, all of it, the level of skill. I think as an industry, it's really fluctuated. I think one of the things that I wish we did better was like, I wish we watched our own movies more.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
so true.
I think we have to if I had lots and lots of money, I would like build a campaign to basically get Australians back to see Australian movies.
Yeah.
Because the movies that we've had thrive here, like The Dry and Force of Nature, they did so during COVID when no American product was available, basically, right? So, and it was amazing to see because, they loved it. Australians loved it and they embraced the movies like in such a big way. Our movie Penguin Bloom was the same. So I'd love to see that change because I think we deliver like amazing storytelling. So I think we do really well. I think that I'm part of this, or I chair this conference called Future Vision in Melbourne actually every year. We've done 2. And it's all about like, trying to be bold creatively and kind of, with America, there's in some ways, there's so much interesting television and film stuff just because it's bigger, right? There's a lot more volume. So what we're trying to encourage here is just like really bold thinking and thinking outside the box and just like being, I don't know. Have you read the Rick Rubin book about creativity?
Oh, hi. I've read a bit of it. I've got given it and I'm obsessed with Rick Rubin. What a legend.
I mean, I'm reading it right now and I've had it on my bedside for like 3 years. I don't know when it came out.
It came out a while ago.
And now I'm doing this crazy challenge called 75 Hard where I have to read 10 pages of nonfiction every day. And so it's forcing me to read it.
Yeah.
Day 60. Thanks very much. Doing very well. And it's kind of like I want all creative people to read this book because, it just reminds you that like what's so exciting about whether it's novels or music or film is that because people will say, well, what do did you know that was going to work? I was like, no one ever knows. I don't care what anyone says. So I think the best stuff feels like you've never seen it before. That's what I strive to make. So that's what I want for that's what I want next for the industry here. We make a lot here and we make a lot in America. So, and I feel like it's all like I want our Australian stuff to sit alongside our American stuff, in terms of like the reach of it.
Why do you think Australians don't watch so many Australian films?
I think part of it is the English language thing. So I think like the French, like the Danes are really behind their own content.
Yeah.
The French are really behind their own content. They watch much more of their own content
that
than
makes
Americans.
sense.
Right. But then that's a language thing,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's part of it. But I wish Australians felt the same about our film and television shows as they do about sport. That's what I'll say. And maybe the government should feel more about it. Because we are such a sport country.
Is it the marketing that we're not as aware that it's out there?
No, I think it's both things. I think it's maybe part of it.
Yeah.
Like they did this campaign during COVID, which was like almost like a summer of film. I think Screen Australia did it, like where they would just like go back to see Australian movies, and it was so great.
Yeah.
And I was like, we need like a social media campaign, like just to get people back. Now, listen, films across the board are difficult. It doesn't matter where they are right now. There's people going to the cinema.
Oh, that's because of streaming.
That's a big part because of streaming, right? So that's a problem, full stop. So there's two parts to this conversation. But I think we do have a pretty good, robust like TV business, but hopefully it'll keep growing.
I'd love to know, talking about streaming, that change, because that changed the landscape for so much. I mean, I would always go to, growing up, you go with your parents or your friends, you go see a movie, get some popcorn, you go to
we'd wait every Sunday.
Like, it was so great. And one of the ads I did actually when I was
an actor
17 was for Village Roadshow.
Oh my God! You're a proper actor. We can't underestimate this.
So those were the days. But now what do I do? Like, put on Netflix or Stan or whatever it is,
hysterical. And
I'll watch something on that at nighttime. So how has that landscape changed? Because that was big.
Yeah. Well, I've been through, like my career has been like right through the boom of streaming. And I did say, like, I remember because it really coincided, like the boom of streaming really coincided with the beginning of COVID. And we were so busy. Like COVID was the busiest I've ever been. I made I think I made 7 things that year. Like, it was insane.
Was that wearing masks and having tests every
wearing
day?
a lot of masks. I quarantined 4 times.
Oh, my God.
Like, crazy amount. Like, once in Canada, 3 times in Australia. But I remember saying to my husband, it was exactly 5 years ago, this bubble's going to burst. Like, it's something's going to happen. And it did burst. And it kind of coincided with the work stoppages in America and, a few other things. But look, I love it. I'm one of those people who's never been aligned with like one place, like had a deal at one place, because I feel like my taste went across multiple companies, right? Like, I have made TV shows and films for like everyone. Netflix, Foxtel, Stat, Apple, Peacock, everyone, Amazon. And so I love it because, like, I made a movie a few years ago for Netflix with Mila Kunis called Luckiest Girl Alive, and it was about some really tough subjects. It was about, like, I had a multiple person sexual assault and I had a school shooting. And I knew that movie could never be theatrical. And I remember actually an actress this years ago, sorry Mila, you weren't, I'm kidding, it was years before that we had Mila. She said to us, this movie needs to be on streaming because like people need to feel kind of safe and watch it in their home. It's just a different experience. And the movie did so well on Netflix. And I remember just being very grateful for streaming. Like, I didn't care if I didn't need people to go to the cinema and see that particular movie. I needed people to see it because it was important, And so I love that we have both things. And definitely there are some movies, and certainly movies that I want to make, that I only want to make, for people to have a theatrical experience. And then TV changed everything as well, right? Like, I've made shows for HBO where like the weekly people wait. But then I've made other shows because I'm a binger. I will watch an entire season in one sitting. I won't even get up from my seat. So I love both things. I also love like waiting every week,
Well, I mean, I was the same. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I do watch streaming here and there when I can. And, say
that's like, still TV, Sarah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I feel like free to air. I have not put that on forever. I don't think my kids would even know what free to air was. It's like, the old, the other My grandma's 95. She's in an old age home, and her mobile's not working great, but they still have the landline.
Yeah.
And then it was my
Oh,
daughter's
no.
birthday, and I
Never
said,
seen
you know,
one.
your grandma's trying to call you, got to call her, but it's on this normal number, like it's not
No.
an 04. And she's like, what's a landline?
Yeah. I don't think my kids have ever called a normal number, a landline.
And it's an interesting thing. I feel like free to air is a little bit like a landline.
Oh, totally. No. I mean, that makes me a bit sad. I feel like our generation, well, I'm Gen X. I feel like I got everything. Like I got the beginning of the mobile phone, the computers, the email.
Same.
And now we're seeing AI, right? So we'll see it all.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I try and tell my kids like what a fax machine was, or, you know, I mean, all these things.
Yeah.
Like, and they look at me like, I don't even understand what you're talking about. Like, and they have
no idea.
No.
It's so funny you mentioned that, because I do solo episodes, and there's an episode that I'm doing about that exact topic, the generation that you and I are from, where we lived between two worlds, because we knew what all of those things were, yet we are part of this new age and AI and everything that keeps changing. But then it's like we get a bit sad because we did know what life was like when you said to someone you'll meet them at 8 o'clock and there was pay phones, but you just turned up, right? You didn't muck around on your phone when you were waiting for them. You just stared out the window.
Yeah,
you know,
no, it's funny because I'm
Things
sure
were
you think about it. I don't
simple.
know how old your children are, but like,
I have a third one that just turned 13.
Right. So there's all this talk of like phones or not phones. Oh my God, but they're getting the bus and they're going to do this. And then my husband and I just look at each other and go, I mean, we literally, we survived. But it is funny because even as a parent, I'm like, no, I need to know. But no, it's a funny thing. And I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like we were in some ways the lucky generation because COVID was the worst thing that had ever happened to us. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this is a world event. This must be like what it was like, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like, oh, wow, we were really lucky. Like we got a long way before.
We did. And it shows you that it's okay as well. Like it was always okay, right? Like you'd ride your bike to someone's house and you'd stay there all day. You go for a swim in the pool and then you came back and you were all right in one piece. But now like you, if I think, oh, my kids are going on a bus, they must have a phone because I need to be in contact with them, and things are different. And sometimes that there's a yearning to go back to the simplicity of what was.
Yeah, exactly.
So, life is very different. But I wonder now, being with film and then having streaming, as we mentioned earlier, is that sometimes hard, like making a film, thinking, are people going to go to the box office and actually watch this?
Yeah, I mean, look, independent films are hard. Like this movie I just made, there's a reason. I mean, it took a long time, partly because I'd left and it was an Australian movie, but also because they're just really hard. Like, you know, thank God we have a system in Australia that supports making them. It's different in every case. When you just make a movie for streaming and they give you the budget and it's one person, it's kind of amazing, right? You make it, you know people are going to watch it, God willing. But the pressure with definitely making a theatrical movie is different. But then it's going to go to streaming at some point anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I think what's exciting to me is there are so many ways for people to see and find things now. Even if it's like, if they don't see it, if this movie I just made goes to Amazon, like its first window, we call it a windowing, right? But then I might have family that wait till that's on SBS or free to air to see it. So it has these many lives, you know. And what's happening with TV shows as well is like things can become hits years later because, I mean, we're all seeing it, right? It's like throwback. I mean, my kids watch all the stuff I was watching.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's kind of a real retro thing going. It's kind of great.
Yeah.
Some things have really stood the test of time.
Yeah, it's like my son wanted to watch The Simpsons and I was like, sure. I grew up watching The Simpsons.
Oh, they've all done Friends and like all the shows like that have really kind of, you know, been out there. It makes me really happy. Like, and now we're watching shows together, you know, and it's kind of great. Like, I think that's why, you know, there's this weird age until your kids hit 13, the tweeny years where you're like, what are we going to show them?
I know, it is.
Now it's exciting.
I wonder, you travel obviously a lot and you have twins, 13, that just turned 13. Is that hard for them? Is that hard for you?
It is. I mean, I do, if they're listening, I'm kidding. It is getting harder. Yeah, I thought. I mean, I wished. You always wish you knew then what you know now. Like I left them a lot when they were little. I made Wild when they were 6 months old, and I saw them for like 30 hours a week for 3 months. Just left them and went home every weekend.
Wow.
And I felt really bad about that. But the truth is, do they remember anything before they were 7? My children don't.
No, mine don't.
Now I think it's actually harder.
It is.
Emotionally for them, much more. Like even when I go away for a day, and I do have to travel a lot, particularly because we made the decision to stay in Australia. I've gone to the point where, yes, of course I miss them like crazy, but at the same time I really try and be in that place. Like when I'm working, and I can give my energy to that, and I also love it. I always try and tell my kids, like, I'm not doing it to survive. Like, I love, it's like my life's work, right? So, like, I love it. Don't ever want them to think, well, mummy has to go to work. I've got to, pay the mortgage. Which, of course, that's true for everyone, right? We all have to do that. But I also want them to know that, like, I had a life before them and I love it. It's definitely getting harder. I would say that there's a period now that it's difficult. But my husband and I never try. We run our company together.
I was going to ask
we
what your
never
husband
leave
is.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Ever. Almost never. Like we've done it maybe once for a couple of days.
And I think it makes you feel better knowing that your partner's at home looking after the kids.
Yeah, and he's honestly done more parenting than I have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that usual, but and weirdly not culturally the expectation, I don't think. But he has been the one. I also have lupus, so like he got up with them in the middle of the night when they were babies. I don't have the physical capacity to not sleep.
Yeah.
And so he's been that person, And so, they understand that and they're so close to him as well. So, yeah, I mean, I could do a lot of gags because I always say, it's so hard, like flying on nice planes and staying in nice hotels. No, it's not. It's not hard. No. I don't want to pretend.
Yes.
It's that hard.
Well,
No.
good on you.
I'd say that to them. But
yeah.
What we do as a family is we travel a lot together. So whenever they're on school break, we tend to take them with us. So we'll go work from Los Angeles. We'll go to wherever we're filming and they'll come and, they then get the benefit of
they have a nice life
going to different countries and seeing different things. And yeah. I think balance is always hard. I don't care what anyone says. I think like it's difficult balancing work always and children and marriage, running a business and health, right? Like,
so talk to me about that. Like lupus is not
for the faint-hearted.
Not for the faint-hearted.
No.
Firstly, it's an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
What happens?
So what happens is, I mean, I make jokes. I said this to my rheumatologist. I call it like the wait and see condition. It basically is like you have to be careful that your immune system doesn't, attack itself. So what some people get to is, organ interfering lupus. I make jokes and say I don't have that, but truthfully, I suppose I do because like I have some inflammation on my brain, for instance, that I monitor every year. I get an MRI to make sure that it's stable.
Yeah.
It can be behind your eyes. It can be behind your hand. So the same feeling as you would. Mine got diagnosed because I had a pain in my hand that wouldn't go away. And I kept having it x-rayed and eventually they did blood tests and eventually, and I had pains in my feet.
How old were you when you got it?
Well, I definitely had it before because there was an old scan I looked at and it was clear that I had something. But when I got diagnosed, it was right when I got married, right before I got married, so I was 39.
Do they know what brings it on?
They don't really, and they do. A lot of women get diagnosed actually when they're in perimenopause and menopause because it definitely becomes slightly more prevalent as women get older. And I think it's actually more prevalent in Hispanic and African American women as well. Like there's lots they know, and there's actually lots of great advancements. I definitely think there'll be a cure in my life. There's a lot of great research going on. So I even though it scared me when I first found out, the good thing about it is I take my health very seriously. So I get a lot of checks. So I always say, well, if I'm going to get the cancer, as my friend's mum calls it, the cans. I would find out where I get so much blood taken. I do those crazy full body scans. Yeah. Finally one in Melbourne, by the way, just came.
There's a few, I think, now.
Yeah, but the good one, the really good one, that it's been in America for years.
Yeah.
First place in Australia is Melbourne. They've just, Pre-Novo, it's called.
Pre-Novo.
It's incredible. I cannot even recommend it enough.
If you exercise regularly or just have a busy life, water alone is not enough to replenish. Body Electric by The Beauty Chef has been designed to replenish what life depletes, so you can live truly charged. With 3 grams of creatine monohydrate, 10 grams of hydrolyzed plant protein, essential electrolytes, and a full spectrum of activated B vitamins, this intelligent formula deeply hydrates and recharges your energy while supporting physical performance, mental stamina, and recovery. It has a delicious strawberry flavor and is fully dissolvable in water, making it perfect to sip on during a workout, after a workout, or anytime you need to recharge. Find Body Electric by The Beauty Chef in-store or online at Chemist Warehouse.
So I think the good news for me is I take it really seriously, and many people have to medicate. I did medicate for a while. I took steroids, and then I eventually said to my doctor, this is not curing me, right? It's just like dulling the pain occasionally. And then for me, the long-term effects of steroids were just worse. And so I've always been a big believer in a diet and lifestyle and what can you do and stress and all that stuff, because it's really activated by stress as well.
Is it?
Yeah. And so I started like experimenting with myself. I do juice cleanses. I do various eating things. And so I've really managed to keep mine under control. I do a cold plunge and an infrared every single day. Every day.
Do you have one in your place?
Yeah.
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 And do you think that's
Someone
helped?
said to me, what's the most extravagant thing you've ever bought? I was like, cold plunge and infrared sauna.
I think it's wonderful.
Oh my God, it helps enormously.
Yeah.
I think, whether it's lupus or other things. I don't know. I think the cold plunge, my son's been doing them, and it's just such a mood elevator.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Robbins is a big fan. That's why I first heard about it.
Yeah. Did you watch that when he
first did that
I'm the
documentary?
Guru and he jumps in?
So
yes.
I have a crazy story about that, because I didn't know much about Tony Robbins, and I've read lots of different things over the years. But I was always a bit like, I don't know, is this guy for real? And then when that documentary came out, I happened to be in LA and I got invited to a screening that he was at. And it was only 50 people, and he was in the room talking. And my husband and I came out of that and I was like, oh my God, you are the real deal. I'm obsessed. I don't say next level obsessed, but I just knew he was the real thing.
I agree.
I just went, you speaking certainly to me, your emotion is right here. I was just like, you're the real thing. But that was the first time I'd ever seen anyone like jump into cold water. And I think about that all the time, because now I'm like, it has been so good for me and my body. So yeah, that is something I do regularly. And I'm always trying new things. I'm on this thing right now where I'm moving my body a lot and doing a lot of water and food. And I've got a doctor in LA who's doing a whole lot of studies in terms of like clinical trials and how stress and all those responses activate autoimmune stuff. And that I think is really interesting, because I think it's definitely activated by the sun. So I can't go into this. Like,
really?
I have to be really careful with the sun. Yeah, it's like if I did a walk in hard sun, I'd feel like radioactive.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it mostly in your hands still?
No, it's it definitely is in the body, depending on if you're having a flare. But it can be behind your eyes. It can be, like foggy brain. Yeah.
Do you meditate?
Oh no, I'm so anti.
Are you?
I make a lot of jokes about meditation. It's terrible. The meditating people are going to come after me. My husband has meditated his whole life. Like he's like the OG. And he was doing it in yoga and juice cleansing well before it was, groovy to talk about. No, I tried once. I did do a TM thing once. No, I think you find your own ways of meditating. So the sauna's been very good for me. For me, switching off from even reading nonfiction actually is very meditative for me, because for my work, I have to read so much fiction. So if I do something to kind of counter that, I find that very meditative for me, just like as it's for me. Yeah. But I just don't. I've tried and I'm never going to do it.
Yeah, it's not.
No, I don't care what anyone says. I'm like, no, I might change my mind. No, because I have so many friends who have really been transformed by it.
Yeah, I have.
Yes.
Like
no,
your husband.
And so many people.
Yeah, but it's not for everyone.
I'm choosing to be counter. Yeah. I don't even shower. I don't have time. I'm like, fucking no, let's keep moving. I don't want to stop.
You have obviously been a part of so many unbelievable films. You mentioned before Wild, which is God, I watched that film so many years ago. It was so amazing. I mean, but I feel like everything you've done is phenomenal. There was another one I wrote it down. It was with, I'm going to forget the name. It's here somewhere, but it was with Sienna Miller. I remember watching it on
Anatomy of a Scandal.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Yeah, I
one
love
summer
it. It's one
I
of my
watched that, I
favourites.
remember. And there was Gone Girl.
Yeah.
That again, I feel like there's a few thrillers.
I love
that you
thriller.
have them.
No one loves a thriller more than me.
So tell me what's, you know.
I mean,
I
thought I didn't like
you,
I watch,
I
like, and
them.
it's my job, right? But I am a compulsive TV watcher and reader, I would say. But I just love thrillers. I love being immersed in, like, the adrenaline of, like, not knowing what's going to happen. But also I love characters. So the thrillers I make have to have, like, you know, they have to be character-driven thrillers. Like, I wouldn't make something that was without, you know, the kind of world of it and something hopefully more going on. And I think that's why they work, to be honest, because I don't think we've made a thriller that didn't work. Touch wood.
I mean, there's so many amazing projects that you've worked on. Do you have one that, I'm not going to say favorite because I hate it when people ask me, like, what's the favorite podcast episode you've done? And there's like, they're all your babies. Like, I can barely remember, right?
No.
But from an emotional perspective, like something that, you know, was super special for you for a reason.
Well, actually, the thing I've just made, which isn't out yet, has been one of the great experiences. Yeah. It's a thriller, really good thriller, called The Good Daughter with Rose Byrne and Megan Fay. It's coming out this year. And so this novelist, Karen Slaughter, I made another one of her books, pieces of her with Toni Collette.
I love Toni Collette.
She's a very successful thriller writer. She's from Georgia in America. She's an incredible, I mean, her books are just like, she's beloved. She's like incredible. She's just like every year pumps out an amazing book. So, but this book, it's about something, you know, really intense and about this kind of sister relationship, like a lot of Karen's work. But it also has this kind of propulsive thriller at the center. And it's just Brendan Gleeson plays the dad. It's been the most incredible experience. One female director. We went to Georgia to shoot it, whereas during COVID, we bought the other one was set in Georgia, her book, but we ended up shooting it in Australia because we could, there's COVID. But it was an amazing experience, just like being in America again, filming with these amazing women. And so that's been one of my best experiences. I would say wild for so many reasons is like, you know, because Cheryl's become a dear friend, because that becomes about like, for me, that movie does so many things. And it's really hard to find movies like Wild, right? Like, because memoirs are really hard. It's really hard to tell a story that's not kind of cradle to grave, you know, and kind of keep it interesting and keep it cinematic. Whereas I thought Reese was incredible in it, and I thought the way Jean-Marc, Nick Hornby wrote this incredible script, but just all the pieces fell into place. Cheryl's book was so distinctive, right? The way she tells her own story is incredible. So that as a life experience and like literally being on top of that mountain, there's nothing like it, right? For me. And then Big Little Lies for other reasons is like, you know, with the ensemble that's that good. It was just also when you shoot, you never get to shoot in California.
Really?
Oh my God, you almost never get to film in California
because
you have to chase. Yeah, like there is a rebate, but you have to get it and it takes a long time and it's more a lottery system. So it's just, you always end up filming in places that have, you know, they're better financially. Big Little Lies had to be shot in California. You know, I can't imagine filming it anywhere else. So that was incredible being able to film in California with such an amazing group of people. So yeah, I love everything. I always feel just so grateful to be on set, you know, filming and just like someone still letting me do it. And I just imagine it can go away at any point.
You know, you've worked with Nicole Kidman, Toni Collette, Reese Witherspoon, these phenomenal, I mean, the list goes on and on. Rose Byrne, I mean, she just won. It was so lovely to see her win an award. There are that many amazing, amazing actresses. In your time of working with all these different people, is there someone that's really stuck out to you where you just kind of went, wow, that performance, like...
Oh, I really can't say that one. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, I'm always on set and I just am kind of in awe of what's happening. I think Nicole particularly, like in Big Little Lies, when you watch like what she did in that, I think was quite extraordinary because she gave such humanity. Like I can't imagine how many people she had reach out to her in terms of the domestic violence aspect. Even I had a lot of people reach out to me because of the way she portrayed it. Because I think what she did is like create something that felt very real to people, where what you see isn't all that you're seeing. There's so much going on beneath the surface emotionally. So I think watching her create that was pretty incredible, you know.
You know, I was thinking, you were saying today when you came to join us that Ashiketti dropped you off, and she was incredible in 9 Perfect Strangers. Incredible. I mean, I still think about that, and the boy in the who
her and
died.
Michael Shannon together.
That was
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, she's an unbelievable, like, I mean, she is Australia's Meryl Streep. Like the way it's I mean, I know people see it on screen, but like her level of insight and work ethic and kind of intelligence around what's going on the page is incredible. She's so smart and just kind of will work till it's, you know, just keep working at it. So that was incredible. And it was so funny because like we ended up shooting that in Australia, but we didn't cast her because we were filming here. Nicole and I were both just fans, and we'd cast her, you know, when we were going to be shooting in California, we'd cast her. So it kind of ended up being an amazing thing that we ended up back here during COVID. And then I've since worked with her many times. Yeah. And continuing to.
And I wonder, you know, we talk about work ethic, and you obviously love what you do. I mean, what a privilege. And you have twins that are 13. So I can, as my son just turned 13, I understand.
Do you have another one?
Yeah, I've got another one who just turned 11.
All right.
But so my son, and I thought, oh my God, this is the epitome of a teenager. He just had his bar mitzvah, which was lovely. But he went into his room the other day, shut the door, and I could hear him listening to Nirvana. And I thought, my God, you are a teenager.
Yeah, my son's been listening to rap for a year and he went to like that Kendrick. He knows every word. And I mean, the kids are amazing, aren't they? They're so different. They're like, I mean, my kids could not be more different.
Yeah.
The things they're interested in. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's kind of amazing being you're probably younger than me, but like an older parent too, because you get to like experience it all over again in a way, right?
Yes. Well, like, that's what the Nirvana, I thought, oh my God, when he starts listening to Pearl Jam, then it's like, you know, exactly what I did. But I wonder, you know, is it hard for you because you love what you do, and it's exactly the same as me? And I always think, oh God, like, you know, I'm looking at the emails, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but I'm also very conscious about being present with my kids. Yeah. How do you juggle that?
I think I need to do a lot better. Yeah. I mean, I say to my husband, I said, even, you know, you always want to reset at the start of the year. And I'm always like, we give them a hard time for wanting to be on devices, but like we have to be very mindful of like our own, like because my husband and I work together, it's really hard. So our house, there's a lot of work talk, right? And but he makes jokes because he'll ask me at like 10:30 at night. He'll be like, "Can I just ask you?" And I'll be like, "No, this is home time." And he's like, "But you asked me a question before." I'll be like, "But that's me. I'm gonna know." But I do think you have to be really mindful of it, and I think you got to just be like, we can all be better at being present. And, you know, we've also our kids have also had this, you know, we were living in America. I was never going to leave America. And then COVID hit. I would never have come back to Australia had COVID not happened.
Really?
Never. I mean, I liked living in America.
Yeah.
And the number one reason that we ended up staying here is guns.
Which we were saying about Bondi, where you live.
Right. So, like, my son was mad. He was like, I mean, I want to cry thinking about it. I've been so upset by it for so many reasons. But also because, like, my narrative has been to my children, that can never happen here. There are no guns here. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said that. So my poor son, he was like, you said this could never happen here. And then also my husband is Jewish. So
is he?
Add to that the level of what that trauma looks like, you know. But it's been a real, I mean, in some ways it's been like I'm really trying to grab anything positive that can come out of that period because I think there's been this fear. I've been very outspoken on, you know, how I feel about anti-Semitism and in our own business and what's been happening in America and around the world, but you're always scared to talk about it, right?
Because 100%.
Because we are in public facing things, and it's so split, and one of the things that I came out of that period going, I'm not going to be scared anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm done being scared. People should just, because certainly other people who feel differently are not afraid to say it. And so for me, I'm just like, I am for free speech. I'm not for hate speech. I'm for free speech. And I did come out of that period going, everyone's been too quiet on, what's been happening, clearly what's been brewing in Australia. So it's broken my heart a little bit, because if you're Australian and, you've lived all over the world and you're always kind of saying, well, God, this happens in America and, this can never happen in Australia. So it's been a very, kind of big reset for me because I'm just like, okay, at least I feel in Australia we have the ability to try and make sure this doesn't happen again. Whereas 100%. In America, I think it's so difficult, because there's no gun control, obviously. And so you feel a bit hopeless, right? And I have so much respect I have so many friends who, are just such big activists and always just out there trying to change something in terms of the gun laws. But no matter how hopeless
in
it
America,
feels, right?
it's...
But they just don't give up. These people, which I have so much admiration for. But at least here, I feel like there is, we can make change. But people have to start speaking up. So it's been an interesting, personal time for me because it was maybe so close to, where I live. It's crazy.
And, I think the thing that made a lot of the Jewish community sad is the fact that people were like, oh, we didn't know this was going to happen. And we're like, we've been telling you this is going to happen ever since October 7th. And no one has been listening. This was not a surprise for us.
No.
And it's sad that a tragedy like this has to happen for people to wake up and,
Yeah, well, let's hope they do because I don't, I still think again, I think things living out, they can also go into the memory very quickly.
Yes,
so I think we have to kind of all stay kind of active in some ways. That's the other thing because, I walk along that beach every single day. And, every day I've been walking there and people life goes on, right?
Yeah.
So, the community was amazing. I mean, the actual community of, Australia and Sydney and Bondi was kind of amazing. And I was there to witness it all, which was kind of incredible. But I definitely feel like you can't forget. It's the first time in my life I'm like, we can't forget.
No.
Yeah, because it's just, and not just that, just fucking hate full stop.
Yeah, hate full stop.
And I am it's complex, but it's also not because,
I wonder, Italian, Jewish. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Judaism is a religion, but how do you bring up your kids with that beautiful mix?
Yeah, well, my husband he's I think I mentioned before, he's deeply spiritual. Yeah. And so while he observes holidays and in some ways in respect to his family, he does not necessarily, he didn't really want to I probably would have converted because I say to my husband, I'm more Jewish than you are because I love the rituals around Judaism. I love the family.
The high holidays are so beautiful.
Well, just all of the ritual. I think that the idea that we take Shabbat, that you take time. So we try and expose them to those rituals and all of it really. And I don't know about your kids, but our kids are they kind of acclimate and are exposed to everything and they just normalize everything. Yes. You know what I mean? They're so open. This generation is so open. I love it. I have a lot of hopes for Alpha. It's Alpha, right? I have a lot of hopes for Generation Alpha because I just feel like they're really open and it's kind of like the no bullshit generation, I think. So, we just try and expose them to as many things as we can. And,
I feel like Italian,
my daughter
Jewish,
would have liked.
similar.
My daughter said, "Can I
Yeah.
have a bat mitzvah?" And I said, "But you're not being raised Jewish."
Yeah.
And she was like, "But I want a bat mitzvah." I said, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that." So we've had that conversation.
But it's very family orientated, both, you know,
Yeah.
the Italians, similar to Greek, very family, and
Yeah.
Judaism is all about family and eating, and, you know, so it's not dissimilar to have both of
No,
them.
totally. No, I think it's very similar. And I think we share very similar values. And I think it's totally very similar.
Yeah. And because, you know, you're not busy enough, you now have a podcast.
Exactly. Well, because I couldn't become an actor, I had to find an outlet.
Yes, like me.
You've been an actor. No, that's not true. You were an actor. We've established that. But I wasn't. And
How are you finding the podcast?
I mean,
Tell
I
us a
just
bit
love
about
it.
what
I
you
make
talk
jokes
about.
with my dear friend Mia Friedman, because
Yeah.
she's like, I'm doing something with her, and she was like, she had a producer hat the other day. I said, "You're trying to take my job?" And she's like, "Well, you're trying to take mine." I was like, "I know, fair point." Yeah, I think I'd been thinking for a long time about like I think it's why I like your podcast so much, because I'm a big believer. I just felt like the young people particularly were being sold this thing that like the world was shit and they weren't going to have any jobs and AI was
Yeah.
going to take over everything. And I just wanted to remind people that like the road is never straight, and like people find their ways. And so many of the people I've been talking to, I mean, I'm only interviewing people that I'm interested in and that I get inspired by, right? And so obviously Invisible Roadmap, I was going to call it Invisible Superpower, because I just think that sometimes your challenges can be your greatest gifts. And I think I just got to the point where I was like, my business was waiting for someone else to say yes. And I just wanted to make something where I could just make it.
Yes.
And then put it into the world. And if people listen, great. And if they don't, who cares? Like it's fed me in different ways. And so it's been super fun for me. And I think that like it's after you turn 50, I think you think about, well, what do I want that next thing to be? And what are the things that I still need to feed me? And that was one of the things for me. And it's been amazing. So yeah, it's been super fun. Like, and just meeting people and also learning what the those commonalities are, right? Which like it's always the same. Like people people who remain deeply, I would say curiosity is the number one. People who also love a sense of community. I think most people I've interviewed, like they build these amazing communities. Doesn't matter whether it's a film crew or a team of litigators, like whatever it is, like there is this massive sense of purpose. And, you know, I've studied a lot these blue zones where people live to over 100. Yeah. That's the one, I would say that's the number one thing that I think across these communities, many vegetarian communities, but less so. I think, you know, the Japanese call it ikigai, this sense of purpose. I think that's the other thing that defines it. It's like, you know, many people who they're not just having a job for a job. Like you know, it's a calling of some kind of purpose. That's how I feel. So yeah, it's been super fun, like on a personal level, and hopefully people get something from it.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Or not.
I wonder, Bruna, now, what brings you joy?
I mean, my family and friends bring me great joy. Like I make jokes, like, you know, I mean, I very rarely go to, you know, like people are always like, "Do you want to come to this? Do you want to come to that?" And I'm like, "No, I just want to be home with my kids." That brings me, their joy brings me great joy. I have a really strong group of girlfriends, like all over the world. We have followed each other, like many in Los Angeles, London, Sydney, Melbourne, like, you know. So being with them brings me great joy. Seeing other people succeed gives me great joy. Because I think that's the other thing. My business is weird. Like there's not a lot of like amplification if you love someone else's work, you know, and that's the other thing. One of the reasons I got more active on social media is because I wanted to talk about things I loved, because I just felt like that a lot of people weren't celebrating each other. It's almost like a defensive thing, right? Because like our business is tough, right? Like I think there's this thing of, well, if you're selling something, maybe someone's not buying my thing, but I don't think like that. I remember someone saying to me once when it got really groovy, like people were putting women in front of the camera, like, "Are you worried other people are going to start, all these people are starting companies?" I was like, no, like all ships rise. I believe that. So that brings me joy. Like I get really joyous for friends, you know, who are doing things. You know, I have a great producer friend who worked with me on something, but she'd worked her whole life. She'd been working away and not even been like front and center at being the producer. She ended up producing that show, The Diplomat, that I love. And she's now, I think they're on to season 4, but it's like she's finally front and center. It's brought me such joy watching that journey for her. So, yeah, that's definitely what brings me joy. And I think if you spoke to anyone, well, you have, Sarah, I'm sure it's a common theme. When people are dying, they're not thinking about how big their house is,
that's
or
it. Yeah.
all they're thinking about is, who am I leaving behind,
Yeah.
right? Or, you know, and you hear people say that a lot. Like, that's certainly for me. I started taking my health much more seriously when I started doing the numbers, going, I need to be around to see my kids grow up.
I always think of the way, you know, how much have I loved and been loved, you know?
Yeah.
Because as you said, you know,
Totally.
when you're on the deathbed, you're not thinking about the house that you lived in
No.
and the car, the brand of car that you bought. You're thinking about the interactions and, you know, people.
Yeah.
Friends.
Always
love,
people. Yeah.
Family.
Yeah. And sometimes that's connected to memory.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, are you thinking about, I'm a big traveler. So I'm thinking about the places I've been. Yeah, partly, but they're always connected to, like, I had a big 50th birthday. It was the most extravagant, most money I'd ever spent on something in Greece.
What did you do?
I went to the Greek islands with 120 of my closest family and friends. It was for a week. And it was literally the greatest week of my life.
Wow.
Yeah, because my children were there, but like my bestie. And it was also just the place and, you know, but it was all the love right there. And so, you know, those things, I think when you're creating memories with,
I agree.
Yeah. I'm excited now to do things, why my kids still want to like me and travel with us. Like my kids are really, really into like, I want to go to Tokyo. So I'm excited to do that next, like start having, making memories with them when they're not just Disneyland, where they can't remember when I took them to Disneyland 5 times.
Yeah.
They have no memory, none.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You know, now they'll be able to remember.
Let's hope so.
What's the lesson that's taken you the longest to learn?
I think my husband is like, he taught me this lesson and he continues to teach it to me. Is like in some ways we choose our own suffering, right? But like the biggest lesson is like you cannot change other people's story. You can only change your own. That's the biggest lesson that's taken me, and I'm still learning it. Yeah, I think that for me is like just what, you know, you can't, like we get so frustrated about like what other people are doing or saying or what their version of events is, and it's just going to cause you nothing but grief, right? Because that's their story to tell, and you know, you can't change that. So that's definitely the biggest one that I'm really continuing to learn.
It's hard. And I actually on that, I mean, the industry that you're in, it's, you know, like artwork. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Reviews are a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
I remember a year before she died, I interviewed Olivia Newton-John.
Oh my God. I met her about 2 years before she died.
You're so lucky.
Just when I say I
remember when she was in America.
When I met her, I was at an event, we were both being on, and I met her, but I got my photo taken.
What a true legend.
We grew up with Olivia Newton-John, right? Like
an absolute true legend. And I remember she said something like, I asked her a similar thing, and she said that someone had given her advice and said, you know, you can't go to the high of the good and the low of the bad. Just it's this neutral, right? Because the high of good can be bullshit as well, right? Yeah. But it is tough, especially if, you know, you do a film or show that you put your heart and soul into, which is, you know, everyone. Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Well, reviewers, I have to care less about them because what you realize, I mean, some of the best stuff I've made has been badly reviewed. And I know that I think reviewing the whole thing is kind of crap, to be honest.
Yeah.
Number one, it's still for the most part like older white men that are reviewers. It's one person's opinion, right? I mean, it's literally one person's opinion. And what tends to happen is one follows the other.
Oh, I see.
So I think people are often just like following the herd, right? So, and I know when something I've made has not been has been popular, but not quite as well executed as it should be. So I'll know. But when I make something that doesn't get the reviews it should, in my opinion, and then I've seen other things that are not that I think are not as great get good reviews, and that's also can be political and for different reasons. So I've just learned to go, you can't control it. now do you want good reviews? 100%. Like,
Mm.
I don't read them as much as I used to, that's for sure. Because at the end of the day, you just have to see, are people watching? Are they liking? And that's what you have to go by. But yeah, it's like, I'm just like waiting for that first one to come out.
What's something that you wish for yourself?
I wish good health for myself, like to continue to I really hope that I can get rid of the lupus one day. I believe in my lifetime that could happen. And I think just to find, maybe I should start meditating, to find just that, the one thing I wish for better sleep for myself, because that's the one thing that I've not been ever very good at is sleeping. And I think that's true of a lot of high functioning people, certainly that I know. I wish I could nap. I'm really jealous of people who can take naps. I know it sounds reductive, but it's totally true. Because I think if I could be that person who could just nap for 10 minutes, I think I would just be restored. You know what I mean? Because it's exhausting sometimes, But yeah, I just wish only the same thing for my family and for me, which is good health, right? For me, that's
important.
With that. Yeah, there's not is there anything that's more important? I don't think so. Not really.
What is a life of greatness to you?
I think it is every day, feeling happiness every day. I genuinely feel happy every day, waking up, with my family, with myself, what's ahead of me. So I think that just feeling that, I think genuine happiness is a life of greatness. And I think living a life with purpose, no matter how small or big that is. And, that's what it means to me. So it's as significant to me if one person tells me that something I said or made or did, impacted them. For me, obviously, because of where I came from, I would love to think that I changed the landscape for girls who came from a lower socioeconomic circumstance like I did, that I made them feel like anything was possible. That for me is because someone did that for me, or certainly, I found my way, right? Because I still think that socioeconomic diversity is a massive barrier to entry for some people. So yeah, that would be if I could change that for people and help people understand there are many access points, that would be a good thing.
Bruna Papandrea, your story is incredibly inspiring, and I have no doubt it has changed a lot of people's lives. It's beautiful to hear from someone like you. It gives a lot of people hope, especially if they have a passion for what they do and they're not sure about their next move, and for all the work that you've put into the world, and especially also for Australia, for women, for Australia. Thank you so much for the conversation today.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been great. Thank you.